There used to be a time when some of us didn't have the language to describe what we were feeling. But if we did, we probably said things like, I feel a little bit sad, or, I'm just stressed out, or I'm simply just tired. But nowadays, it seems like there are a million different types of words for every situation imaginable. Oh, I'm so overstimulated. Oh, she's so emotionally dysregulated. Oh, he's so avoidantly attached. I feel so burned out. With the rise of the internet, we got access to everything, all the knowledge we could possibly need. But I'm gonna say, and I think a lot of you will agree with me, it doesn't seem like it made us any smarter, unfortunately. When you talk about your mental health with anyone, let's say above the age of 60, you'd probably lose them with the words gaslighting, attachment style, trauma response. When you meet up with your grandma for cookies and tea, using those words, you could probably just stand in front of her and say, 6'7", and it would feel, like the same thing to her. Did we also use memes that were so pointless and stupid and we found them really funny? Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. I think I'm getting old. All those terms we use used to live in psychology textbooks, and a lot of the times didn't make it far out of your therapy sessions. But nowadays, they live on social media, and everyone seems to be an armchair psychologist. I think that if our lives were turned into books, individually, a lot of us would probably get the title of being an unreliable narrator. Everything we do gets picked to pieces. We overanalyze every little thing. You know all about your attachment style. You've taken all the online quizzes available to you. You can spot the red flags. You can spot the red flags in someone immediately. You can trauma dump all of your childhood wounds with a bag of Sour Patch Kids and Reese's Pieces and call it a trauma salad, getting millions of views. The shorter the sentence, the more shocking, the better. How mental health aware is social media really? It feels like there is only a certain type of pain the internet rewards. The one that's articulate, reflective, and most of the time already processed. A video with a pretty background, someone talking in a low voice with good lighting, that feels digestible. Which video would you most likely click? Something that's titled, I went through hell and here's what it taught me, or I'm still in hell and I don't know who I am right now. Mental health issues can come with very uncomfortable suffering, and a lot of the times you do things that are completely irrational. Some of the things that I did or said or thought while I was at a very low point, I wouldn't want to portray them on the internet, to be honest, because a lot of it is very ugly. We like stories that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But what if someone is actively spiraling? There's rarely structure in those moments. In those situations, a lot of people gain insight, but then self-sabotage, be victim and aggressor at the same time, hurt others while being hurt. Trauma is rarely something that gets digested in a short period of time. Most likely, you will deal with it for the rest of your life. Sometimes, it can be more present, and sometimes it's less present. The same goes for any other diagnosis: eating disorder, anxiety, depression, OCD. So, what if we see that someone is healing but then lashing out again, going from manic episode to manic episode? When someone acts out, lashes out, spirals, manipulates, overshares, or contradicts themselves, it feels very unpredictable. And that feeling can easily trigger anxiety for a lot of us. So we just put a label on it, calling them toxic, messy, or unstable. And your mind honestly comes to ease a little bit because now you've turned something chaotic into something that's defined. In these situations, labels can make us feel safe. When someone behaves badly or is in a lot of pain mentally, we're forced to hold two truths. And those are this person is hurting and they're also causing harm. That's a crossroad where a lot of people are lost for words or lost for action. It's uncomfortable and a very complex situation. So, just slapping a label on it, putting it into a box, it's easy to seal and put away. Now we don't need to ask ourselves why we feel so strongly at this moment, why this situation pulled such strong emotions out of us. Now we don't have to wrestle with empathy. Now we don't have to examine our own capacity for similar behavior. We don't have to ask ourselves whether we'd act differently under pressure. So calling them toxic separates us from them. It reassures us that we aren't like them. Because being around someone who's spiraling can also dysregulate you too. And online, that fear turns into quick distancing. Unfollow, block, cancel, diagnose. You see a clip, a screenshot, a breakdown. A lot of the times, we are missing so much context, private struggles, or their history. But we are so easy to diagnose and to judge. When I tell you that I'm someone who overthinks, I have attachment issues, and sometimes I sabotage good things, maybe you could relate, and this feels like relatable suffering. But when the actions behind those words are being seen and become public, lashing out, jealousy, self absorption, inconsistency, ugly coping mechanisms, now it all feels very, very unsettling. But this is what real pain is, not just some pretty words tied up in eloquent words. It's irrational and repetitive a lot of the times. Obsessive compulsive disorder is so often used as a verb and not a noun. Oh my god, I'm so OCD, So many people say that. I've heard it so many times when someone likes to arrange their pillows neatly or cleans maybe a little bit too often. I can tell you from my own experience, OCD is overwhelming, all consuming, and so fucking dreadful, honestly. It has an impact on your daily life, leaving you feeling exhausted most of the time. Going to check whether the oven is turned off 15 times because otherwise something horrible will happen. Your whole house will shortly be on fire, keeping all your rituals in check because otherwise you'll cause damage to the whole world. It's so far off from dusting your apartment one too many times. So many people on the internet like to throw these words around, the diagnosis, without having felt the weight of these illnesses. Everyone is traumatized. Everyone has PTSD. It makes me a little bit crazy, honestly. Just because you went through a bad situation doesn't automatically mean that you are traumatized. You can be affected by something and not get that diagnosis. It is completely normal to keep stories you lived through close to you, thinking about them often or still feeling sad. But that's so far off from having actual, real trauma. Clinically, trauma used to refer to overwhelming events that exceed someone's ability, like life or death situations, severe abuse, something along those lines. Now, it's a whole range of situations. You can be traumatized from a bad breakup, a humiliating moment, a toxic friend, or your strict parents. The word has stretched out so much that basically everyone has a room in it. What does this do to people who are actually suffering? When serious disorders become part of our everyday internet slang, the severity of these conditions become diluted. When everyone claims to have ADHD, the people who actually have it, how serious will they be taken? We use conditions like narcissistic personality disorder as an insult. Oh, she's so psycho, or he's acting like a sociopath. It feels more like a moral judgment and not a medical description. And when those words get thrown around as part of pop culture, there's a shift in how these conditions get viewed. Just because you get a little bit nervous here and there, it doesn't mean that you need or that you have a diagnosis. It's totally fine if you're just a little bit sad sometimes. If you get upset more than most people, if you like to spend all your free time cleaning, being mentally ill is so exhausting and all consuming. You wouldn't wish that on yourself. Sometimes I ask myself if all those people who claim to have something, some form of diagnosis, if they get to spend a couple of minutes, a couple of hours in the body, in the mind of someone who's genuinely struggling, how would they feel? Because I think a lot of them would crumble and it wouldn't take long. And then they would probably wish to never get a real diagnosis. And I think a lot more people would be very, very grateful for their pretty healthy brain. And I think a lot of people would return to feeling grateful for having a healthy brain that can function in healthy ways.